What's up, everybody? Bren here. Hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Uh, Sorry, I was looking at something on the Telegram. It is Tuesday, March 17th. Dude, since last stream, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol have absolutely ripped. Entering a very interesting zone. And why I called this stream the tipping point is because I seriously think we're entering a level which will either confirm a bigger bounce into the 80s or a replay of January of this year, or potentially what Benjamin Cowen and others I've seen say, a more accurately a repeat of February 2022, where Bitcoin bounced out of this kind of this first move down, bounced, and then went down another 50, 60%. Is that where we're going to see another 50 or 60% drop? Or is this kind of the tipping point where we kind of maybe go into a new bull run? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about exactly what to look for, what I'm looking for, the charts, and then more accurately, how we're going to thrive, in either scenario, whether this bull run starts now or the bull run starts 6 months from now. Because at the end of the day, again, whether it starts now or it starts 6 months from now, the only difference between then and there is however much time plays out. I think on the other end of this, you'll hear me say this in every stream because I truly believe it. On the other end of this kind of bear market, corrective period, whatever it may be, I think crypto is going to see its first true adoption cycle. We have the institutions really setting up all these different crypto products, which these guys are not doing that so they can sell to other institutions. It's to set up years ahead of time so that the retail will flood in. You have all the biggest regulators, CFTC, the SEC, all saying that all markets, the traditional finance markets, are going to go on chain. You see collectibles starting to move towards digital stuff. I think we're really in the sweet spot where crypto is going to explode and see like real adoption for the first time. So whether it's going to take 3 months, 6 months, whatever it may be, I'm just trying to stress to people in these streams, especially people who may have not been around for very long, that it's just a matter of time. And I don't think we're looking at a 3 or 2 year ice age for crypto or anything like that. I think it's quite the opposite. We did very well, just to kind of close it off, we did very well in the last kind of bull run. The last bull run, 24, 25, on these streams, catching Pengu, USDUC, White Whale, a lot of them, the meme coin side, kind of accurately predicted, a lot of the stuff on the major side. And I expect we're going to do a lot of the same in the next kind of bull run. It's just about surviving these times. So I appreciate everybody for pulling up. I want to do that quick intro really quickly. I have not posted in the Telegram yet, but for everybody who's hanging out here with us on Twitter, I appreciate everybody. Let me know in the chat 2 things. Let me know, 1, where you're pulling up from or where you're tuning in from, and then 2, if this is the first time in the stream. So let me see here for a second. I'll go ahead and post it in a second here. But with that, let's go ahead and if you guys could like, comment, retweet, share the stream as well. I'm going to quote tweet it here in a second as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and start with Bitcoin. last week we were talking about how, to me, what we're looking at here, at least for now, until proven otherwise, is looking a lot like what we saw in the January correction. This January correction we saw here, where we got this wedge, a couple weeks of consolidation. Bitcoin went up in this kind of wedge like pattern, and then I personally thought we were going to go a little bit higher to 102, 103 before we came down, but it did fall through that wedge and ended up going down another, what is this, 40% or something on Bitcoin. And to me, I think this is really reminiscent. The one we're seeing now is it looks very similar to that in the sense that, yes, we consolidated for a few weeks, but the biggest thing is it's forming this choppy like move up, right? I talk a lot about corrective channels. You'll hear over the last few years, if you've tuned into one of the streams, you hear me talk a lot about these corrective channel like structures, where the market will coil up or pull back in these kind of like wedges or channels, I like to call them, before they continue the trend. In this case, we're seeing the same kind of structures, but to the downside. So it's a correct channel to the upside before we continue to the downside. I think, still, even though Bitcoin's been moving up pretty powerfully, until proven otherwise, I still think there's a solid chance that we are in one of those wedges that, again, because we're not out of the woods with the war and a lot of other stuff that's happening, I think there's a strong possibility that Bitcoin, whether it be from right here, we can talk about possible areas where that might happen, or a little bit higher. But I think there's a good shot that we come back and at least retest these lows at 60K. Maybe it just chops there for a while and that's it and goes up. Or maybe we potentially see like January of 2022, which I'll show you in a second, where we instead make new lows. For me, I like to play the short term. I like to show you guys on these streams what I'm seeing in the short term charts, because I think over the years I have found a bit of an edge on that. But even me, someone who's obsessed with charts and looking at this stuff all the time, I'm taking the approach where over the last few months, I've just been adding every couple of days to my favorite coins, the Bitcoin, ETH, Sols, Pengu, some of these other coins we're going to talk about on here, regardless of whether I think we're going to go up now or I think most likely the charts are telling us, again, that we're going to head back down. I'm just buying regardless, because I know that even somebody like looks at this all the time, I could very well be wrong, and the worst thing that could possibly happen to anybody is that you're just completely sidelined when the next bull run starts, right? There's no reason. It's like taking profits. I always talk about taking profits on the way up. You don't need to take profits, everything. You don't need to sell everything at once. You also don't need to, buy everything at once. It's just about adding, DCAing, because for all I know, China comes out and buys Bitcoin tomorrow and the shit rockets to all-time highs. So I'm continuing to DCA, add to my favorite coins, and I would just add a lot more if Bitcoin were to go to 50K, right? So that's simply how I'm playing it. I will all the time on these streams tell you guys what I think is going to happen at the short-term price action. A lot of the times we're going to be right. Maybe we'll catch some juicy-ass short setups or long setups when it's time. But at the end of the day, I'm always taking a long-term I'm always protecting my long-term bags first of just DCAing and adding to long-term coins, whether I think the likelihood is of moves down are happening or not. So, that's it for Bitcoin. Again, what we're really looking for actually is what I think is going to happen in the very short term for Bitcoin is it does look pretty corrective again on the higher time frames, guys. We're getting a move up, choppiness, and even though we're moving up, it's in a choppy manner. We got this pullback here. What I think is likely to happen is Bitcoin's going to continue up in the short term, move up to maybe 74, 75, 76. But as it approaches the top of this channel here, I think that's going to be really the tipping point. And if it does form a higher high here and then fails to break and does something like this, and at that point, I think we are going to break down and at least hit 60K one more time. But if Bitcoin just breaks right through 80K, just breaks right through the top of this channel and keeps going up, the setup is invalidated, and for the time being, I think we're going to continue higher. I really would not take this bounce seriously as far as like not take it seriously, but I wouldn't call this the bottom 100% until we break up back above this consolidation or this consolidation low at 81K. Once that happens, 82K, once that happens, I think there's a good possibility we're going to go up, you know, further. And at that point, the sky's the limit. We really have to see. In 2022, we actually saw, or 2020, yeah, the 2019 bear market, we actually saw some really big swings. Like as you've seen here, we saw this really big bounce from 3,500 to 11,000 and then came all the way back down to that low, right? So just because you get a big bounce to even 80 or 90K, that doesn't mean that we can't come down for one more low. So I just want to let you guys know again, I'm not one of those guys who's like a perma bear who's going to tell you, oh yeah, just like wait until the bottom. You know, we're going to 50K, wait to buy there. It's like, no, you should be buying if you have a long-term strategy or long-term view on Bitcoin, ESOL, like crypto over the next few years, like I do. You don't want to try to guess the bottom. You want to be DCAing, adding to these things. And if it does go to 50K, it's just an added bonus if you could buy it cheaper. But you don't, trust me, you don't want to completely miss out on this next crypto run trying to catch an extra 15, 20%, trying to be a smart guy, right? I'm always going to tell you what I think is going to happen because I like the charts. I think we're right a lot of times, like I said. But again, I just wanted to make that clear. Long-term first. DCA is the king. So what's up, MTK? What's up, ATK and MKT? But I want to go over a couple other charts really quickly. ETH, same kind of thing. I think ETH, very possible that ETH is in one of these wedges, but we will know pretty soon. Either it's going to confirm a wedge, either it's going to confirm, a top out here and confirm a wedge to the downside in the next couple of weeks, or it's going to confirm higher and do something like this and completely invalidate this wedge I have here. If it does this and then just completely just shoots straight up out of this wedge, we know that's invalidated. And from there, it's a whole new setup. You would have to look for some other signs of topping, or again, the possibility that this is the low and we ripped all-time highs from here. I'm open to that possibility as well. So really what we want to see for ETH to see potentially that it is topping out is just some more consolidation here, more chop, maybe into the, end of the week, maybe into the weekend, and then something like that. But for now, I think we should just enjoy the bullish momentum, right? S&P 500. So I think the S&P 500, I view it in a very similar way to, hold on one second. I view it as a very similar way to crypto right now. Is essentially it's in a correction. It's in a higher time frame correction. I think it's in a higher time frame kind of coil up like we have here. As you guys can see, it has it depicted here. It doesn't have to go down all the way down here. That would just be a 10% drop. But what I think the S&P 500 is likely to do is continue to chop down over the next couple weeks to couple months, which I think could, again, push crypto lower if we do top out here, right? So S&P 500, I don't think it's out of the woods yet. I think what's likely to happen is it's going to continue to chop down, down and sideways into probably the summer. And that's where I think potentially we could get that bottom and rip into the end of the year for the S&P 500. So, I don't think we're out of the woods yet for the war with Iran, which obviously could just create more volatility. So, yeah, that's how I see it. DXY is actually at a very pivotal point. It is rejecting this big high here that's been sitting on for about, 7 or 8 months since it formed this in July. If it's able to rocket through here, you're probably going to see the stock market, crypto, all that come down with it, and then vice versa. If this really is the bottom, at least like a strong local bottom for crypto, you're probably going to see DXY climb lower here. So kind of what I'm trying to get across to you guys is what we're seeing here for crypto, the majors, oil, which we'll go over for a second. Everything's at a very important tipping point to where if it crosses to either side, it's going to be a big reversal to the downside or a big confirmation to confirm the market's higher. From here, we'll just have to see. I think with this strong momentum, I think if we rip any higher here for something like ETH and Bitcoin, I think that's going to mean we're going to climb into the 80s and 90s, and then it's just a different structure. But if we come really what we want to see coming into the 60, 76, 78K, 80K area, how Bitcoin performs as it's making a new high in this kind of wedge slash channel. Oftentimes that's where you're going to see the top if you're going to see one. But yeah, I still am leaning towards at least one more retest of 60K at some point, but I am damn sure not waiting for that to happen. I would just buy more if it did give that. I'm just calling what I'm seeing on the charts here, which I think there's a strong possibility we do still see that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the charts now. I'll take chart requests in a little bit, but I want to move on to the next topic. Someone says, I got a question. What percentage of my port shall I put into memes like Pengu and SPX? That's a great question, Saad. I'll just go ahead and hit that real quickly. And we're going to transition into alts and memes anyway after this, so this is perfect. But what percentage of my port shall I put into memes like Pengu, SPX, and Fartcoin? So I'll kind of just go ahead and tell you guys how my portfolio is set up. And this kind of plays into what we were talking about a second ago when we're talking, setting up for your long-term or investor bags first before anything. And that is my portfolio at all times. Doesn't matter if we're in a bull market, bear market. It might fluctuate a little bit, but essentially no less than 55% of my portfolio at all times is in the majors and stables. I'm talking ETH, Sol, Bitcoin, stables. That's the stuff we know is going to be around from now, a year from now. That's the stuff we know is not going to be here today, gone tomorrow, very likely. Some people think Sol's not going to make it out of this bear. I don't think that's. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But those are the coins that are not going anywhere. Those are the coins we want to build more. At least I want to build more of a position in. So I set my portfolio in 50 to 60% just there at all times. It protects our portfolio. Again, we want to make more of those and then use the rest of our portfolio, which for me, for altcoins is maybe another 20 to 30%. That's mixed with memes, alts, AI coins like Tau, stuff like that. I'm using for the alts and memes. And maybe for you, maybe 10 to 15% of that, maybe half of that. So 10 to 15% of your portfolio total might be in memes, SPX, Giga, stuff like that. That's kind of what I'm doing. I would say about 15% of my portfolio, even though those coins have come down a bit, are still in those. But I'm very concentrated in the few that I think are going to do well, right? So the SPX, Gigas, MOGs, USD, you see like less than 6 or 7 of them, focusing on concentrated bets. And that's kind of how I'm playing it. So to answer you, 10 to 15%, no more than that in the things. But yeah, it's been overall, I know we're just talking about Bitcoin. Overall, it's been a lot of crazy stuff with AI that I want to go over here later on in the stream. NVIDIA, there was a crazy NVIDIA launch that my homie was showing me that I want to watch with you guys later on. How they're using this new AI stuff to power robots. A lot of crazy shit. I want to talk a lot about more AI stuff on these streams as well, not just crypto, because I think two worlds are going to continue to merge. And I just think there's just fascinating shit going on in AI right now. Saad says I have like 50% Bitcoin, 30% stables, 13% ETH, 6% STOL. Okay, yeah, that's not bad, bro. That's a solid portfolio, especially during these times. Also, you can always strike when the iron's hot more when the market kind of turns around, right? Isn't 15% about too much? It depends, brother. It depends on your goals. For me, I'm very confident in those coins over the next few years. But for you, you might want to have it smaller. Space Faceless reposted the stream. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Let me see here. All right. So what I want to get into next is I want to go over some setups right now because, like I said, the majors, whether they come down here or not, one more time, whether we blast off, most of the altcoins in these memes have not taken off yet. So I think this is a perfect time to look at some great setups. Maxing, for example, is on the low cap meme side. for anybody who's been paying attention to anything in pop culture, just at all on TikTok or has an Instagram or whatever, you know that maxing is a huge term that everybody's kind of saying. It's some people, it's like a meme now, right? It's like, it started with looks maxing, which essentially the term is essentially maximalizing anything you're talking about. So if you're, looks maxing is maximizing somebody's looks. If you're maximalizing, you're trying to get lean. People will say I'm lean maxing. Like it's a term that everybody's using. And to me, you guys know that usually these trends that happen in time for meme coins, I'm not usually bullish on, especially if they've been out for a few weeks. Like 6-7. Everybody's like, oh, 6-7 coin's going to go to 1 billion. And like, yeah, they did well for a while, but trends, they always pretty quickly nowadays, die out. Maxing, I think, has staying power. I really do. I think people are going to continue, looks maxing in general, I think is going to continue to grow in society, but just maxing in general where people are maximalizing just the trend and then also just the phrase, I think is going to continue to have staying power, kind of how like lock in, everybody continues to say lock in, even though the lock in kind of trend for a while with Roaring Kitty kind of died down. People still use the phrase to this day. I still think people are going to say maxing for a long time. I like the movement. I like people who are kind of backing the coin. I like the price action. It's struggling right now because the whole market's kind of in this kind of limbo like I was talking about. But I really like how we have this big corrective channel that it came out of. We're forming another corrective channel slash flag. And then we're seeing another kind of corrective channel here, even cleaner one. I think if we can start to move above these 4 mil levels and really retest and kind of stay above these $5 million highs, we could see something like maxing kind of outperform a lot of coins. And we've seen coins like this, like I've seen setups like this, again, reach the 5, 10, 15, 20 million eventually after really consolidating under 5 for a couple months or like a month. So I don't know. I really like this setup on maxing. I know there's a lot of good people behind it. I think it's really relevant right now and a trend. One of the few trends that I think has a potential to keep going and actually turn into a movement. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about maxing in the chat. Space Faceless says, I've been waiting for the Bitcoin dip to sub 60 to load some Pepe Fartcoin for the long. Yeah, I think Pepe and Fartcoin are looking fucking amazing here too, bro. I really do. If you guys could like, comment, retweet, share the stream, I'm going to go ahead and quote tweet it real quickly. But yeah, no, I really like Pepe here too. I think, yeah, Pepe is in a beautiful fucking setup. I'm going to post this in the Telegram stuff in a second as well. We're going to do a USDC giveaway at the end. But let's see. Alrighty. So, yeah, maxing looks really good. Really like SPX 6900 and a few of these other ones. SPX, really nice consolidation here. Again, if the whole market does rip to the upside, I think SPX is going to be a strong beta just to the rest of the market. I think even if 99% of meme coins from 24 to 25 died, I have a very, very strong confidence that SPX is one of the movements that rips out of the bear market, right? And I think probably goes back to all-time highs. So I've been adding strongly to SPX. Again, it's volatile. We could easily see something like this, guys. Don't get me wrong. We could easily see some shit like this where it goes and then comes down one more time and then forms that bottom. But I would buy even more under 300 mil. But if the market does rip up higher, Bitcoin does bottom out here at 60K, then I think SPX goes to all-time highs as well. So, yeah, SPX I've been adding heavily today. I saw Murad actually today he put out a video or an interview where he's talking. I just watched a little bit about it, and he talks about he still thinks we're going to get a Murad did an interview where he just talks about, SPX and how the thesis and how he thinks it's going to, rip out of here. Obviously, I think Murad, some of the stuff that he said years ago about memetics and stuff, I think is going to be some of the only stuff that really sticks with crypto long term. So What is good, Raj? How you doing, bro? I want 55K Bitcoin to DCA. I got a bad entry at 82. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice, bro? I would just caution you again, do not if you don't go 0% of the market, because if we do rip here to all-time highs, you don't want to be out to all the way out of the market, bro. It's the last thing you want. So, yeah, let's go over a few more setups. Again, SPX, MOG. Yeah, I got you. SPX, MOG. Not MOG's a little fucked up. MOG too. Again, same thing as maxing, but even more so. MOG is like just the biggest word coming out of this looks maxing craze. And then just in general, I think if the market does somehow recover and sustainably recovers for the next, in the next couple months, I think MOG is going to dominate. If we do get some kind of normie retail people entering crypto, they're going to see MOG and they're going to love that shit because, again, MOG is just such a huge word in the, amongst young people right now. So MOG is another one. And then I think Tau looks incredibly good right now too. It's pulling back a little bit on the higher time frames. Let's see. Tau, oh yeah, not really actually. But yeah, Tau is up barely 2x off this low here. I think AI, the cross between AI and crypto is just so fucking obvious. I think this thing's gonna make all-time highs in the coming, weeks and months. And just when the bull market really does confirm, like when Bitcoin approaches all-time highs, I think this time finally we're going to see the Taos and the really strong AI coins get to all-time highs as well. You just see how dominant AI is, the narrative in the world with the tech and the AI agents and everything. I think when crypto's strong again, the AI narrative in crypto and like Tao's kind of looked at as the Bitcoin of AI. And some people think it's like some people compare it to Bitcoin back in 2012 or something, where they think it's going to go from $200 to thousands or tens of thousands. But I mean, higher time frames, this looks as coiled as can be. And I would not be surprised to see a couple years back to see Tau just way above all time highs. And I think it'll just make so much sense in hindsight, right, guys? It's like AI and crypto. AI is the biggest technology in the world. Digital assets are going to also, be the backbone to so many different other things too, that I think the cross between both of those is going to be so obvious in hindsight. So Tau I really like here as well. Then I gave you a kind of a lower cap meme coin. We got the higher cap memes, got the higher cap alts. I think AVAX looks pretty nice actually. A lot of these coins, I think ETH just above anything else, guys, is just, I think it goes above all-time highs and way beyond. Just don't have to overcomplicate it. You can get a nice 2 or 3, 5x over the next couple of years, I think, off of ETH of just holding. And that's really what I've been focusing on is most of my money has been going into ETH and SOL because time and time again, we see these bull markets are almost always started with ETH and Bitcoin going up first. And then that's the time, if you choose, to kind of put it into the smaller coins, to really go hard in the smaller coins. So that's kind of my plan. Been adding heavily to the majors and then bit by bit to the really strong coins I have conviction in. Another few is I really like some of these TokenWorks coins. You guys know I'm a big believer in a lot of these NFTs. A few of them to make a big kind of comeback. Punkster. Is this not moving? I swear it was no, okay. Stuff like Punkster, not the most beautiful setup in the world, but again, been consolidating for a bit. I think Punkster, some of these NFTs that are going to have resurgences over the next few years, these are kind of good in buy and holds too. Specifically Punkster, this is what I've been adding to, slowly. But I think when CryptoPunks have pop at all, you're going to see another one of these moves, and then potentially one that really takes it back to all-time highs eventually. So, Dimcat, what's up? Yo, what's good? I3R or 13R, what's up, bro? Or what's up from Oz? Were you surprised by Hyperliquid last week? And did you see it continuing? So I was not surprised by Hyperliquid. I actually posted in the Telegram. If you guys haven't already, check out the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel. I posted this setup here. I'll just show you real quick. I posted this setup here on Hype in the Telegram channel like a week ago. Let's just pull it up right here. Hype. So posted on February 21st, which is about 2 weeks ago. Talked about how Hype is looking really nice here, sub 30. While most coins are sideways or bleeding out this month, Hype is in a nice flag sus corrective channel. Could see it continuing higher despite whatever Bitcoin moves. Pretty much talk about how even if Bitcoin isn't moving or if it's moving down, a lot of people trade on Hyperliquid. They take those fees and throw them into the buy and burn. That's usually what happens. They throw it in obviously the buy and burn flywheel, which then contributes the coin to go higher. And so that's what happened. Obviously, we coiled up in this channel. Hyperliquid, came back down. This is actually not the perfect chart. That's not the same chart I had. Let's see. This one, yeah. So came back down in there and then exploded out. Damn, I hate that. Oh, I'm not sharing. Okay, I see. So as you can see here, came right back in the channel we had drawn there and then blew up. So to answer your question, no, wasn't surprised by Hyperliquid. I think this thing is going to continue to go higher despite whatever Bitcoin does, and very likely hits all-time highs while the rest of the market is going sideways potentially. So yeah, Hype is a beautiful coin. Now I have 50% port in Bitcoin. Can't go wrong with that, man. Your streams feel like therapy. Keep the good work. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, like what's up? Yeah. And guys, if you guys could like, comment, everybody who's chilling, you guys could like, comment, retweet, share. I'm gonna go ahead and do a chart workshop right here where I'm gonna go essentially every day about 30 minutes into the show. We're gonna go into what I like to call a chart workshop, where I'm gonna teach a core kind of piece of my chart method, or kind of how I see the charts. And each week we're going to go into like a 10 to 15 minute segment where I break down a certain subject or something we're going to learn that day, when it comes to charts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here in a second. If you guys could like, comment, retweet, share. I'm going to post this in the Telegram here too. We just had a post that was kind of cooking here right before. So, most of you guys who are chilling here are likely from the Twitter, so shout out to all of you guys. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the chart workshop. This will be good. I'm going to go ahead and record this as well and put it for people to watch later. But let's go ahead and get started. So this is the chart workshop. Excuse me. Let me get a drink of water real quick. This is the chart workshop lesson 2. Okay. Last time we went over the 3 phases that any market is in at any given time, right? This is stocks, crypto, gold, silver, oil. Every asset that has one of these price charts, is in one of these phases at any given time. This is how I break down and how I see the markets essentially chart-wise. Is I break it down into these 3 phases and essentially can tell us by determining which phase that we're in, it can tell us where very likely the market is going to do next, right? Let's go over those 3 phases really quickly here. First of all, first one is impulse. Impulse is a big move up or down for an extended period of time. Think crypto bear markets and bull markets on the higher time frames. This is the moves that you want to be catching, right? You want to be in an asset when it's impulsing to the upside. And then there's corrections, which are pullbacks, cool off periods in between these moves up or down. And then you have peaks, which are tops or bottoms. Each of these have distinct characteristics that, again, tell us what phase we're in and what we should do kind of after that, because of that phase we're in, okay? I want to go later on into what to look for these phases. But the first one we're going to study today here is the impulse. Again, I want to go into each of these phases in each of these lessons more deeply into each of these ones so that you know what to look for and so you know exactly what each of these phases are before we kind of move on and piece them all together. Okay. First one being, again, the impulse. I'm going to go ahead and take off these annoying lines on the chart. We'll just break it down to its simplest form. It's the easiest way to see. Okay. This is Bitcoin since 2011. Bitcoin has essentially been big moves up or impulses with, 1 or 2 year moves up and then big 1 or 2 year corrections in between. Big 1 or 2 moves up, year moves up, big 1 or 2 year corrections in between, right? Impulses, these again are the moves we want to catch. What do we notice about impulses? Very strong in one direction. Like there'll be little pullbacks here. Like you got little pullbacks here or here or here. But as you can see, they're very short-lived. Right? So you'll see big moves up. Now, you want to be in these moves ideally, but what do we do during impulses? What should our brain tell us every time we see a price move impulsively? First of all, hopefully you're in it, whether it be to the upside or the downside. But essentially, number one, you want to be in these moves before they start, which we'll go over the corrections on the next time. But you want to be in these moves before they start. But the number one thing you want to be thinking once you're in an impulse is you don't want to be chasing, because again, chasing maybe on a pullback, but ideally you don't want to be chasing, but instead you want to be taking profits on the way up. That's the number one thing. When I see something starting to impulse, I'm thinking, how can I start to slowly take profits on the way up? Instead, most people see a move up and they start adding. Okay. So what do we learned right now? So far, we know what an impulse is. Big moves up in one direction. We know how they look, the behavior. Again, big moves up, very little small corrections in between. And what do we do with these impulses? What I'm thinking when I see an impulse is, yes, potentially, if I see some strong pullbacks, get in for a continuation for the move. But if you see a big extreme move of 100, 200%, 5x in a few days, I'm thinking, how can I start to slowly scale out and start to lock in some gains, okay? Ideally, you're going to see impulses. They're the easiest to identify. You see impulses on every single chart. Oil, obviously, we'll go to oil right now, is the perfect example of this kind of correction to impulse type move. We saw US oil. Why does this look so shitty? Here, I have it right here. We have US, where is it? Okay, they all look like that. We have US oil, again, really, really big correction here for a few years, and then impulsed really heavily out of it. Essentially, these are the moves you want to catch, big impulses. Once I see this big impulse on oil, I'm thinking, how can I scale out of this move on the way up? Now, I mean, oil, well, that's a whole different subject for another video, but I do think oil does impulse back to the upside here, but that is besides the point. Yeah, so again, what did we learn here? I just want to really quickly recap so you guys can see is that today we learned about impulses. It's one of the three major and one of the easiest, one of the three phases to recognize. But if you can position yourself to catch these impulsive moves, that's really all you need to do in crypto. Most of these times, and people, they come back in crypto when you're already at the top of the impulse, and instead they continue to overtrade themselves, make stupid decisions, do too much during these choppy periods, instead of getting positioned for the next strong move up. So, yeah, I hope that has helped and interested and really starts to spark your mind about charts, because I think a lot of these charts things, these different patterns and these different indicators by themselves at least are useless, but really breaking the market down into these three phases and what to do after because of those 3 phases has really helped me simplify and catch a lot of these strong moves over the last few years on memes, crypto, alts, stock market, stuff like that. So appreciate you guys. The next lesson we're going to go and learn about corrections. This is my bread and butter. This is how I've done, caught a lot of these plays over the last few years, is identifying corrective behavior so that I can position myself again for the next impulse. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, that was just for the clip. Nobody sign off the fucking stream. I just wanted to do that for the video that I'm gonna make. But appreciate you from the Telegram, not X. Appreciate you for pulling up. Let's talk about Aster and Genesis. Okay, yeah, we can do that. I'm gonna go ahead and post the stream in the channel really quickly. Before we do that, let's see. Alrighty. Okay, yeah, let's go. I'll go ahead and pull up Aster for you, Spaced. Alrighty. So Aster. So I forgot to mention Aster, but Aster along with Hype is one I've been actually accumulating pretty strongly too. The reason why I think Aster may even outperform Hype, especially, I mean, it's only a 189 market cap, 189 billion versus Aster, versus Hype, which is a lot higher. But obviously, Hype is already another L1 in some sense, but Aster, they're trying to build it like a whole L1 on it, like with meme coins, stables, everything. And if that happens, I think it has the opportunity to move away from just being valued as a DEX. A what's it called? Perp DEX into something way bigger, which is an L1, not just a perp DEX. So, if you guys are just coming in from the channel, what's up, guys? What's up, Gardner? If you guys are just coming in from the channel, what's up? Let me know in the chat. I did just post it in the Telegram channel for the first time here. We're just going over some plays, some potential plays, lining up right now. We have Aster, Hype, a few other things. We went over Bitcoin and stuff, which I'll go over in a little bit later. But we're just chilling, going over some charts. We're gonna review some other stuff that's been going on the last few days. But yeah, let me know in the chat if you're just pulling up from the channel. Let me know 2 things. 1, where you're tuning in from, and then 2, whether this is your first time in the stream or you're returning. What's up, Mike? Seeing a lot of people comment on the stream. Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate everybody. Let's see here. But yeah, Aster is another one you said. What was the other one you requested, bro? Genesis. Is that has to do with Aster as well? I don't know if this is probably not what you're talking about, but Doggy Dog World. Shout out to everybody following. What are we on? 45 minutes in. Let's see. We got chart workshop. But yeah, we're gonna talk about oil here and a few other things. We're gonna do some reviews. Let me see. Returning. Usually got here from X, but I check out your Telegram daily. Appreciate that, Gardner. The Genesis chain of asteroids. Is that a coin? I don't even know what that is, dude. I'm probably tripping for not knowing, but before we move on to oil, let's just go ahead and review some stuff on the timeline, see if there's anything. Reviewing. Perfect. Let's see here. You got Kaleo saying, fun fact, the trailer releases from Dune 1 and 2 both happened at the bottom of bear markets. Bitcoin went on to have bull runs that led to new all-time highs and lasted years each time. The trailer for Dune 3 released today. Run it back. That's crazy. Is it time? Let's see.
Did just to sell more toys. In the early 1980s, Japanese toy company Takara had a line of transforming robot toys that could turn from a vehicle into a robot. That's when Steven Hassenfeld, the CEO of toy giant Hasbro, saw potential that no one else did. So Hasbro partnered with Takara to bring that toy to America. However, there was a huge problem. The toys were cool, but they had no characters and no storyline. So Hasbro partnered with Marvel Comics to create a whole universe around them. That's where characters like Optimus Prime and Megatron were created, along with the Autobots vs. Decepticons storyline. Then in 1984, the cartoon for Transformers launched, and the show was an instant hit, but the funny part is, every time a new toy dropped, a new character would join the show. And kids didn't just watch Transformers, they wanted to own the characters, and that strategy exploded. By the mid-1980s, Transformer toys were generating hundreds of millions of dollars a year and became one of the biggest toy lines in the world. And
Interesting. But seems like besides Bitcoin, we're kind of, like I said, we're really at the tipping point for everything in general. Crypto either crosses this point here with ETH exploding and everything going up, um, and we probably see memes pop off, everything going crazy again, or we see a repeat of the wedge from January and head lower one more time. I could honestly see either. I think as we approach 80K here for Bitcoin, we really will know. I still lean towards just statistically, just everything going on, that we probably do see at least like another retest of 60K. Doesn't mean we see a new low, but just something chopping down towards there to form a stronger bottom above 63K. I would love to see that. That would be the ideal scenario where if we started chopping slowly above 63K and didn't break, that I would add very heavily to everything a lot more accelerated. That would kind of be the ideal setup. One that doesn't mean we have to go down to 50K for another 6 months, but one that just retests that low. Maybe we chop sideways for, into the summer and then finally move up. I could see something like that. But until we break above that 81K level, I think we should be cautious and understand to not go all in and throw everything in and max long everything just because everybody's kind of excited on Twitter. But at the same time, I would not be waiting around for one more dip either. I think the strategy for me is just to add DCA, and then just add more if we go down. That's really just the proven strategy for me over time. So just in reference to Aster. Okay, gotcha. All right. NFT market this week. What is this doing? Oh, that's Quirkies. NFT this market this week, pretty slow. Not much news going on other than OpenSea. Other than OpenSea came out and said they're delaying the airdrop again. They're saying it has a lot to do with market conditions, just a bunch of other things. There's a lot of polarizing opinions on this. I think they should continue. I'm a big fan of, or I think it makes a lot of sense for these guys to delay these airdrops until market conditions are good. Otherwise, the coin stands almost no chance. It's just unfortunate once you announce an airdrop towards the top of the market and then you have to wait another year or something. But it makes sense. I think any coin, almost every coin that launches into the middle of a bear is going to go, not perform well or not do well for everybody. But yeah, I don't know. You guys, you can read into this, but I think overall, if we want OpenSea to be a success, delaying and finally getting it right will be a good thing in hindsight. So we are not wrong. We're just too early. Yeah, potentially. But I think not trying to time the markets is just the key. I mean, time the markets if you're using leverage, but don't try to time the market when it comes to your actual spot bags. Those are the bags like the Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, the majors, and the things you hold. That's the real long-term wealth generating thing. Whereas the meme coins and the different stuff like the leverage and stuff is just extra, I think this oil thing is compounding negative domino effect that we haven't seen yet. We can anticipate with the fertilizer prices rising. Yeah, let's go ahead and that's a good transition. Let's go ahead and touch oil really quickly here. If you guys could, while I'm doing that, if you guys could like, comment, retweet, share. I know I posted in the Telegram pretty late today, but appreciate everybody for pulling up. So oil came out of this big correction like we were talking about. Very clean setup. I wish I would have longed it or, bought some oil contracts, but where it's at right now is it did throw a nice corrective channel, consolidated for 2 days, inverse head and shoulders, and then formed a mini correction over the last couple weeks. I think we could push them a little bit lower, but I think oil is setting up to head higher over the next few weeks. What does that mean? Does that mean that the war continues? Does that mean oil goes to $150 and there's some type of recession? I'm not sure. I can just tell you guys what I'm seeing on the charts. And to me, this is an obvious corrective coil up that could easily see another few lows. But I think instead of reversing big to the downside and going back down to 80, I think it goes back into the hundreds before that happens. So I think this is a setup we're seeing for oil. If it potentially comes down here, I might actually long it on Hyperliquid. But I believe that this is a correction before we head higher for oil. I'm not a macro economist. I'm not a war expert. I don't know if that means that the Iran war, accelerates and goes crazy. That's probably what you would think if oil continues higher, right? That's probably a sign that the Strait of Hormuz or whatever stays closed. They haven't moved. I saw on ThreadGuy's page, they haven't moved anything through there for like 8 or 12 days or something. So I don't know. I think we see oil bottom out here. If it does move higher, it'll probably get nastier in the markets. I think we probably would get a reversal in crypto and stock market if that does happen. And at that point, again, I think we just brace ourselves for that final kind of correction before we can continue higher, I think, into 27 and 28. Let's see. I want to watch this AI video too, this NVIDIA video. Let's see here. 4 minutes, perfect. We're gonna watch. So we just start from here.
Many of you think I'm AI. I'm not AI, but this is AI. Maybe in the future
Perfect.
I'll get to work.
So this is the NVIDIA conference keynote that they had. Some people knew that they, were gonna come out with something, but even from my producer, my good buddy, Can't Stop Me Now, who's just, just all day just reading about AI and just on top of this stuff, he was blown away by this stuff that came from this. So let's just sit back and watch this together.
Bless.
So Peter Steinberger's here, and
Can't hear it.
he wrote a piece of software. It's called OpenClaw, and I don't know if he realized how successful it's going to be, but the importance is profound. OpenClaw is the #1. It's the most popular open source project in the history of humanity, and it did so in just a few weeks. It exceeded what Linux did in 30 years. And it's that important. It is that important. It will do, well, this is all you do, okay? We're announcing our support of it. Let me just quickly go through this. I want to show you a couple things. You simply type this. You type this into a console, and it goes out. It finds OpenClaw. It downloads it. It builds you an AI agent, and then you could tell it whatever else you need to do. What is OpenClaw? It connects. It's an agentic system. It calls and connects to large language models. So the first thing it has resources that it manages. It could access tools, it could access file systems, it could access large language models. It's able to do scheduling. It's able to do cron jobs. It's able to decompose a prompt that you gave it into step by step by step. It could spawn off and call upon other sub-agents. It has I/O. You could talk to it in any modality you want. You could wave at it and it understands you. You could talk to any modality you want. It sends you messages. It texts you, sends you email. So it's got I/O. What else does it have? Well, based on that, you could say, in fact, it's an operating system. I've just used the same syntax that I would describe an operating system. OpenClaw has open sourced essentially the operating system of agentic computers. It is no different than how Windows made it possible for us to create personal computers. Now OpenClaw has made it possible for us to create personal agents. Ladies and gentlemen, Olaf.
Snowman coming through.
It's fucking AI. by the way.
Newton works.
Wow.
Omniverse works. Olaf, how are you?
I'm so happy now that I'm meeting you.
I know, because I gave you your computer, Jetson.
Ooh, what's that?
Well, it's in your tummy.
Tell me in the chat. You go to Disneyland in a month. You see these fucking things scurrying around your kids. Are you are you trusting them or are you hiding your kids? Like, let me know. Shit's crazy.
That's gonna be amazing.
And you learn how to walk inside Omniverse.
I love walking. This is so much better than riding on a reindeer, gazing up at the beautiful sky.
And it was because of physics, using this Newton solver that runs on top of NVIDIA Warp that we jointly developed with Disney and with DeepMind that made it possible for you to be able to adapt to the physical world. Check that out.
Not to say that.
That's how smart you are.
It's insane.
I'm a snowman, not a snowclopedia.
Look how like fluidly it moves and shit. It's absolutely.
Could you imagine this? The future of Disneyland? All these robots, all these characters wandering around.
Oh,
You know, I have to admit though, I thought you were going to be taller. I've never seen such a short snowman, to be honest.
How he responds so quickly and like
All right, have a great GTC!
absolutely nuts. You know, I mean, that was kind of slow here from somebody like still learning about AI, and then, but the robot shit, just like, I don't know, just the fact that it's just all powered, all powered through fucking AI. They already have animatronics. I know, they already have animatronics, but not powered by AI. I feel like those animatronics are like controlled by completely by a human, right? Or just by like a battery. But imagine one that just has a kind of a mind of its own. Like that's fucked up. Trusting them more than man dressed as princesses. Yeah. Oh man. That's fair, bro. That's fair. Uh Man, have you tried OpenClaw or things of that nature? To be honest with you personally, no. I need to buy like a Mac Mini probably, and just either with OpenClaw or something like it. I think NVIDIA with OpenClaw. I think that's every week it switches between, you know, OpenClaw is the best one. Oh no, OpenClaw is gonna. But now I think OpenClaw kind of is with this NVIDIA thing, kind of the top thing. But to answer your question, no. But I'm starting to get more learning about the stuff, and then eventually I'll set up agents and stuff to help me with my own stuff. But let me know in the chat. Have you VX Knox? I'm a little behind with the AI stuff, but I'll catch up. But yeah, this is incredible, dude. I don't even know. It's just robots. I just always think about, because like the Tesla robots are supposed to start coming out this year. I don't know if that'll happen. Even if it takes a couple years, they're gonna have to make new rules for everything. Like it's like a robot free zone, or robot, you know, where you can have robots in this building and can't. They're gonna have to create all those rules pretty quickly, right? So I think it's just gonna completely change the world when there's robots. I don't know. It's getting scary. Yeah, especially when they're transacting on chain and doing all their own shit. Yeah, Pump Fund this week as well just announced how they're gonna start incentivizing agents to launch coins on Pump. So shout out to the homies, the USDUC homies as well in the chat. Haven't checked out USDUC in a minute. Why is it? Yeah, let me share the screen. Why is it one of the Tony or one of the guys? Why is it why is it the fucked up USDUCs on top? It's hard to find a good chart on a. Okay, yeah, that's the best. No, it's stopped. It stopped in May. USDUC slash Euro USDUC. Why is there? That's weird. I guess this is it. Okay, yeah. So USDUC looks pretty similar setup to SPX. Obviously, it's just down more. You know, ideally, if this is the bottom for crypto, you want to see a chart like this consolidate for over a month. But I think it's going to be what Bitcoin does. Like if Bitcoin bottoms out here and rips the fucking 126K, then I think USDUC, makes a run. If Bitcoin, chops up, fucks around for a bit, and then heads back down to 60 one more time, you'll see USDUC do something like this. And then that's probably the final bottom, if that's the case. But, as you guys can see, there's still some homies from USDUC pretty active. Really the only existing communities I still see pushing in numbers is like SPX, USDUC, MOG, Giga, really, and a few others. So I think USDUC bounces out and probably potentially bounces back to all-time highs. I think a good shot, but we'll see. Quite cool for the first time, but after a while, you have more time to do more stuff, but you just don't know what to do. Yeah, I think pretty quickly, from what I understand, is we'll start to see the AI start to do like more and more useful shit, right? Like right now, it's just kind of scanning the internet for information and kind of just doing basic tasks like helping you pay bills and reminding you of stuff and all that, which is great. But like or it gives ideas and all this crazy shit too, builds websites. Like I'm not trying to obviously downplay it, but I think eventually it'll be like where it's just doing everything for people. And that's gotcha. Yeah, my producer's telling me, especially with the NVIDIA stuff that we're looking at there, because it gives like big businesses a lot like able to do enterprise shit. It's not just for small people, just for the average people learning anymore. I didn't hear no bell. I don't know what the fuck that means. I'm tripping. Oh, you mean like it's not over? I feel you, bro. Space Faceless. What's good, bro? But yeah, we'll do a giveaway here from the chat here in a bit. But I just want to check in with really, we're again waiting for Bitcoin to kind of make its move here. I think we're kind of in a tipping point, like the stream says. Bitcoin either confirms higher above 80K and then probably rips into the 90s, and then at that point, you'd have to look for another kind of short, a setup for downside if there was going to be one. But right now, we're still kind of in this wedge type structure, kind of tracking exactly to last January, where Bitcoin went up, kind of dipped back out in the channel, made one final high, and then came back down. There's a possibility we still see that. In order for that to happen, if you guys are looking for shorts or you're just like kind of looking at these short-term charts, is again what Bitcoin does at around 80K. If it makes a new high here, fucks around there, and then shows signs of reversing, like does that, and then like let's say right here, there's a good chance it's probably playing out like I was talking about. Really, if you're shorting, I think the safe short entry, again, not financial advice. This is if you're already trading leverage, you got to understand how these things work before, using them. Is the short safe entry, I think, would be right here. Is if it came back down out of that channel, kind of confirmed lower out of that channel. At that point, I think you could target around 60K and potentially much lower if it makes another low. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. My bags are packed. I honestly hope for my net worth's sake, everything, the quality of life in crypto and everything kind of ripping again. I hope this shit just rips straight to 80K. But again, just from all these different setups that we've seen before, there's a good shot we make a high in 80K and then make a final low. So that's just what we're looking at. 80K, very kind of tipping point for Bitcoin. Let's see what happens when we come back on stream on Friday. Again, if this is your first time in the stream, Tuesdays and Fridays, I hit these streams usually around 11 to 12. Today we hit it a little bit later, but around 11:30 a.m. PST. Been having a lot of good, cool guests on the last few months, and expecting we're gonna have a lot even more over the next few. So we had Poppy on a few weeks ago from Quirkies. Have a few more lined up. Some friends, as well as some really interesting people who have a lot of great experience that I think everyone can learn from. So before I sign off, I was just posting this clip on TikTok before we started, and from last stream, and I want to reiterate that same point again. I think the number one thing that can take you from determine somebody's success or having average results in this next crypto bull run, or unfortunately maybe losing everything if they don't know what they're doing, is like the learning you put in now, right? And in crypto, it sounds cliche, like everybody kind of just likes to focus on the trading part, but like the only reason I went from a kid who doesn't have any type of finance background, like college background or anything, to knowing about all these different things about macro and all these different things is because, especially a few years ago, I spent hours a day. Like I'm talking 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day watching interviews from people who had kind of the results I wanted, people who were kind of experts in trading through multiple decades from the dot-com bubble and all these like really vets in trading space and founders in different crypto companies and all these different things. That's how I learned everything. And in a world of clipping where everybody's watching short form clips, if you're willing to sit down and watch an hour, 2-hour interview, even if it's broken up, and absorb all the free information, the alpha, the fucking sauce that these guys, these experts are giving, that's what's going to take you from the average person to knowing way more. And like information and being able to recognize certain things is just everything in crypto, right? So that's what I would be doing right now, apart from looking at these charts, and definitely tune into these streams. Like I said, Tuesdays and Fridays, check out the Telegram channel. But other than that, on your own, like I'm telling you, the biggest results will be from the information that you're consuming, whether that be somebody's course that you really like. I think those are kind of few and far between, but watch long form interviews on YouTube. Thread Guy, recently he's been doing his own streams, but he's had a lot of great people on, even in the meme coin space, from a lot of these guys who are the greatest traders. Bankless continues to have great people on. This guy, what is it? Fucking, what is that guy's name? When Ship Happens. This guy right here. Not When Ship Happens, when, what is it? This guy right here. Not When Ship, it's some, damn, what is it? Anyways, this guy has on a bunch of great other people too. Point is, use this time to learn as much as you can from like experts. In today's age, the way that people, attention and followers and all that stuff, views is like currency. And the way you give currency is by giving value. And that's why there's so much free value out of there by these experts that just tell their stories and in these interviews and stuff. So that's what I would implore everybody to do. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give 50 USDC to somebody in the chat that's been super active. Today, let's go ahead and do VXNOXYZ. Go ahead and shoot me a DM after the stream, and I will shoot you USDC on Sol. Yeah, assume your Sol address. But yeah, with that, guys, I think we're at the tipping point. I think we'll know in the next few weeks on whether we're going to rip higher. Everything will probably rip after that, or we're going to see a temporary top to kind of retest 60K. Either way, I think we come back 6 months from now. None of this shit's going to matter. Maybe 9 months from now, 6 to 9 months from now, none of this shit's going to matter. Whether we bottomed out today or whether it took 6 more months, I think in the next few years, crypto is just going to be way just in a whole nother stratosphere. again, because I think we actually get adoption of the technology this time. And a lot of people aren't even going to know that they're using crypto tech, but that's just going to bring more people using wallets, which will bring more people using NFTs, which will have more people buying meme coins. It's just a process that takes longer to build this bigger pie, and we're right in the right place at the right time. So DCA, continue learning. It might seem boring now, but I'm telling you, it's all worth it when everything does turn around. So shout out to everybody. I know it was kind of a weird stream today. I didn't post the Telegram until a little bit later, but appreciate everybody for hanging out. I've seen a lot of these same faces, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna have your like first huge breakthrough in the market because you really stuck around. Hawk, shout out to you, man. Vnox says, yeah, well, quite cool for the first time, but after a while you have more time to do stuff. My connection is seriously lagging today. I don't even know the problem. Oh, that's fucking sucks. Any chance for a brief post with your podcast recommendations? Yeah, a brief post? Yeah, I can do that. I was actually going to make a tweet today too, kind of saying that exact thing in kind of a shorter, more condensed. But yeah, the bank lists thing, I think Thread Guy, especially when he has smart people on, he has a lot of good stuff himself too. Bank lists, any of these streams that you see continuously having on smart people and the stuff you want to learn from. Like if you want to become a long-term investor, trader, whatever the heck, like learn from guys who have decades of experience. Because yeah, of course we're in crypto, but in the stock market, there's a lot of lessons you can learn from the 80s in the stock market or the dot-com bubble, because the same kind of behaviors I think repeat themselves, right? In human nature and all that shit. So with that, guys, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. I think next time we come on stream on Friday, we'll have either topped out at 80K, I think, or we'll blown right through it. But either way, I'm excited for the next few months. But I'll see everybody on Friday. Have a great rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you're at, and be safe. I'll talk to you guys soon.